Up and onward. You win some, you lose some. This week on the Fantasy Ruckers Show, we break down the big wins for some of us and some of the tough losses here for our Fantasy Ruckers Show host, but that's fantasy for you. We break down all of the action that went down in week 4. Look ahead to another bye-mageddon, just the second one in 5 weeks, and give you some streaming options, plus give you our predictions for who's going to come out with some big-time wins. The Fantasy Ruckers Show starts right now.
Where rugby and the world of fantasy sports collide. Welcome to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, bringing fantasy rugby to the masses, talking all things rugby from the MLR to leagues around the world. We're on top of it. Headphones on, pads off. This is the Fantasy Ruckers Show. Now, here are your hosts, Ryan Yee, Matt Yee, and Devin Vanderpool.
What's up, everybody? This is episode 145 of the Fantasy Ruckers Show. Thank you so much to our Fantasy Ruckers League members, our community members, and everyone else tagging along on this journey of making fantasy rugby a reality in the MLR with you each and every single week. Matt Yee, Devin, Vandy Vanderpool. I am Ryan Yee, and boys, a tough week for the TFR boys. Maybe not so much for Vandy, but like I said at the top of the show, we are up and onward, and we're looking ahead as we continue to trudge on through this fantasy MLR season. How you guys doing? Like I said, kind of a split feeling here. Obviously, the Fantasy Ruckers team, took a tough L this week. But Vandy, look at you, man. You go on a rant last week. You tell people that you are the champion now. You are the king. And you let the actions speak for themselves and back up the words that you were coming on hot with last episode, and you back it up and follow it up with another big time win in the listener league. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, you know what? Just pulling some wins together. I am going to showboat like crazy just because I'm in these moments, and it's probably not going to last. So you're getting sick of it. I mean, hold on, because it's not going to last.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, I don't blame you.
Hey, back-to-back wins. You're now first in your listener league, Vandy, or our listener league, Vandy. Yep. Pretty crazy stuff. And it happens on a week that was pretty exciting. Obviously had a full slate of games, only one team on bye. So, of course, on this episode 145, we're going to get into it. We're going to break it all down, go over some of the latest news and notes. Obviously, I mean, boys, we're only in week 5 and already experiencing our second bye-mageddon of the year. I think that's unprecedented stuff. Another 3 teams on bye this week. So we got some streaming options for you on this episode as well, as we break down some of the waiver wire pickups that you'll probably need to get through what is another tough week that includes 3 teams not playing. We'll break down the games that are to come in this week 5 and talk a little bit about betting at the end as well, because it was a big week. You win some, you lose some. Maybe didn't win so much in fantasy except for Vandy, but Vandy, we'll allude to it a little bit later, had a nice pick that I think paid off for a lot of us here in it. Maddie, tough L in the listener league, tough calls here in the Fantasy Ruckers League overall, but still optimistic here heading forward, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you let optimism die. That's it. That's all you got.
What else you got?
What else you got? All right.
But it also is the hope that kills you.
It is the hope that kills you. It's a double-edged sword. Nonetheless, jam-packed episode, like I mentioned. We're going to hop into it right here, right away. But first, if you aren't already, follow us at the Fantasy Ruckers. Handles up above if you're watching on the YouTube video, down below in the description if you're listening on the pod. Give us a like, subscribe, hit that bell to get notified when we come out with a brand new YouTube video. Every week, we're here. You can join us to help you go up and onward in this fantasy MLR season and take part in the movement that is making fantasy MLR reality. Got a Discord community as well that you can check out in the description if you'd like to join. Got a fun little group of people over there that love to talk rugby, Major League Rugby, all that is fantasy MLR. Cool group over there. And also check out thefantasyruckers.com, the official platform for Fantasy MLR with the Fantasy Ruckers. All right, let's get right into it, boys. There is no time to waste, and we start off with some developments here in MLR 2025.
News dump.
All right, it is time for our TFR news dump. get the people caught up with everything that's going down in the league as we head into week 5 of the Major League Rugby season. I think obviously the most pressing news that we got to talk about, the Coffee Cup. We'll break down the match in just a bit, but the Coffee Cup between the New England Free Jacks, Dunkin' Donuts, the Seattle Seawolves, Starbucks, it happened this weekend. And I think it's perfectly encapsulated by friend of the show, James Dealey of MLR Stats and North American Rugby Database. He posted a picture of last year's coffee cup, and it is literally a big coffee cup that they used to play for. But breaking news, and this is why we start off this news dump segment, is that they've lacklusterly have now changed the big coffee cup to just a normal trophy. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. I'm pretty let down. I think it was pretty jokes that they did actually have a big coffee cup that they would play for, but I guess a little bit more money invested into the matchup that is between the Seattle Seawolves and the New England Free Jacks. All kidding aside, I thought it was a little funny tidbit that you get to see between some rivalries across the league.
I mean, to be fair, that trophy does look sick. The coffee cup's cool. Coffee cup's pretty cool, but that trophy.
Everyone
it's not
has.
like okay. It's not like it's like a bad trophy, like some half-baked thing. That's a cool
No.
looking. What are those coffee rags hanging from it? That's pretty cool.
Coffee rags. I think you're giving it a little bit more credit. I don't know what the heck it is.
Like,
I think it's just so
it's the color of coffee. Like you used like a napkin or something to clean up the coffee.
Is that what we're going? Okay. That's the connection there. Either way, this is what we've now resort to. I mean, if you're going to go with the shtick in this league with kind of unique hardware, we have the shield that we have talked about on this show before. That
you can drink out of this one.
You drink, yes, but you can drink
out of the cup.
A big coffee cup too, which is literally a cup. Either way, breaking news: coffee cup, no more. Hashtag find the coffee cup. It was hashtag find semi last week. We found semi.
We found
we found semi.
1 week.
It's hashtag find the coffee cup.
That's the poll we got. It took 1 week.
Yeah, there we go. So we're going to bring the coffee cup back for when the Seattle Seawolves and New England Free Jacks play each other once again. All right, actually some serious news, though. We do have a trade alert that happened over the course of after the weekend's matches. It's our favorite. Obviously going to involve some salary cap considerations, but it is between Anthem Rugby Carolina and the RFC Los Angeles squad. Cameron Gerlach, back 3 player, fullback, moving to Anthem Rugby Carolina, and some salary cap considerations. So it's Cameron Gerlach holding a bag of money. They're shipping him to Carolina in exchange for a hypothetical international slot that now LA will get.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, Gerlach, he had a couple games where he played. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why Anthem need help at back 3, but I guess maybe the real question is who the heck is RFCLA bringing in where they require this international spot?
I think that's reading between the lines. That's what I'm most interested about is what are we going to see here now that LA now has an additional international slot? I guess that is remain to be seen, and we'll keep our eyes peeled on what will happen there. Lastly here, the Houston Sabercats hit a big milestone over the weekend. They are just the 3rd team in Major League Rugby history to hit the 100th match mark. It was its 97th regular season game. And you add 3 postseason matches to that, 97 plus 3 equals 100. So the 100 matches total for the Houston Sabercats. They joined the Seattle Seawolves and the San Diego Legion, 2 staple franchises in MLR, and now you can add the Houston Sabercats to the mix as well. Just a nice little tidbit there to kind of emphasize the longevity of this league. I know there was an interview done not too long ago with Paul Lasike that I was watching, that he was talking about, obviously a guy that's been here since day one, and just about how much growth has happened in the league, and I think this is another example of that. 3rd team, Houston Sabercats, 100 MLR matches. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, good for them. I mean, hey, it's longevity ain't an easy thing to come by in this MLR league. So
that's true.
Did that Joe 97 games and 3 postseason?
Yes.
Yeah, they remember when they sucked, Vandy. They used to
sucked.
suck.
Yeah.
They
lot.
used to
It is
be
crazy
not.
times, eh? Now they're a
It is.
wagon.
It is crazy times. It is crazy times. All right. Well, speaking of crazy times, it is crazy in the world of fantasy MLR as well. So let's get people caught up with what's going down in the TFR leagues.
Get them caught up with what's going down.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye.
All right, hear ye, hear ye. Here is Supreme Commissioner Yi with a Fantasy Ruckers Leagues update. Where do I begin? I don't really want to talk about this, but I guess we have to. We usually bring up the weekly challenge results in this segment. Congratulations to our winner of this week, John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning. Don't like to bring that. He is the defending champion of the official TFR League, the OG TFR League, and now he adds a weekly challenge winner. I guess, accomplishment under his belt there. And I guess we'll move on from that. Nothing else to talk about, right?
Okay. Well, I got something to bring up, actually. Yeah, your very own Ryan Yee placed 14th this week in the weekly challenge with a whopping 18.6 points. Way to go, Ryan. You killed it, man. That puts you at 15th on the season rank out of 21. You are absolutely crushing it. Yeah, we need more of that.
But no, it's actually even better. I'm actually 15th this week, 14th on the season. So
okay. I see. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, that is better. Good for you, Ryan. You're killing it, man. Wishing you the best.
Hey, big 8th place, though. You know what? I keep finishing in the top 10, boys.
The Luritz Vander Skiff minus 4.2 didn't help me there. But yeah, Vandy, since you're mentioning it, 8th on the week, 6th on the season.
That's
Looking
right.
good.
Respect it. That's right.
And I don't want to talk about Matt. I don't want to talk about him.
Matt does bad things, man.
Yeah,
he gets this game.
Hey,
he's got it.
Hey, you don't have to tell them. They know. They know where I am.
He's got this game down.
Where are you?
No, they know.
Where are you in the world? Tell our listeners.
Got people breaking necks trying to look up to find me.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, quickly put, Maddie, first on the season in the weekly challenge, finishing second this past week.
I'm actually spanking the rest of the group. What's going on? I'm the first one over 200 points on the year. What the heck is happening?
205.2 on the season. The next highest is Hawks 58. 182.6. So you're over 20 points higher than the next, which is like almost like my weekly challenge lineup couldn't get you even close to
you know what?
Making that space.
It's my copium for how bad I'm doing in the listener league. So
yeah. Well, there we go. We'll get into it. But yeah, there you go. Weekly challenge. Not so hot for Ryan, pretty hot for Vandy, and even better for Maddie. Keep participating. Love to get it. Spread the word. Get people participating and dabbling in the world of fantasy MLR. The link is down below on how you can participate in the weekly challenge. Fun stuff. Build a lineup, 5 players, $15 budget. See if you can take down us, the Fantasy Ruckers Show host.
Well, you can definitely take down Ryan. Definitely take down Ryan.
And Maddie's difficult level, and that's where we go from there. We offer different tiers to people who want to try. I
didn't think I'd be in the middle, boys. I didn't think I'd be me.
Right?
You know what's crazy, right? You have 2 chances to win, to do well every week. And yet you decide to suck in both of them.
No, so we don't. So I don't know who sets up the Fantasy Ruckers lineup. I don't know who does that. It's
not me.
Yeah, not me.
It is funny. It is funny though that if I just had swapped the Fantasy Ruckers lineup with
you
my
say this
lineup
every week. Every week you say this.
This would be
every week you've been saying this.
So what I need to do is I need to set the lineups as I would normally, and then whatever I got it, just automatically switch them so that this week I do it. Yeah, the Fantasy Ruckers lineup is 5th on the year. Vandy would be at the bottom if I just had taken the second lineup that I had created. Either way, again, offering tiers to our new weekly challenge members. You beat me as the lower level boss, Vandy's the middle boss, and then Maddie is the top boss for now, which is a tough pill to swallow. Last update that I want to give our league managers in our TFR leagues is, this is week 4, a big week. Lots of people changing positions, eligibility. We saw some changes last week. Most notably, Ethan Grayson has started at the back 3 position, but this is the 4th week, and there's been some guys that have been switching back and forth. Some notable names: Frank Lahore, Sam Gala. all guys that probably will not be slotting in that same spot in your lineup, especially in that second row spot. You may need to be pivoting to other options here, especially on a week where there are 3 teams on bye. So keep a lookout. We'll come out with an announcement about these eligibility changes. Keep aware, keep on your toes, and do as you will when it comes to finding those replacements on the waiver wire, which we'll talk about in just a little bit, and also setting your lineup for this weekend. All right, let's talk about the week 4 that was this past weekend.
Quick Tap Recap.
All right, let's talk about the week 4 that was in our TFR Quick Tap Recap. One team on bye, the NOLA Gold. They probably needed a break. One of our YouTube shorts, we do those now, blew up, and Maddie went on a heater about how NOLA needs to get a little bit more physical, because
valiant effort. You know what, Ryan? Valiant effort.
I tried. Either way,
I didn't say physical. They need to care.
The top comment, Vandy, the top comment, former MLR player, former Toronto Arrows player, guy I believe that we've had on this show, right?
Yep.
We've had on this show before. Jack McRogers comments on our Instagram post with Maddie saying that. And he says, big stuff coming from a scrum half. Right to him. So take that for what you will. Maddie and Jack McRogers going way back. They've gone on a few camping trips with each other. They're close friends. And Jack calling out Maddie there. Big words for a 9.
Hey, if anything, as a 9, I have the best view every time a breakdown happens on the effort that's being put into said breakdown. So
yeah.
If anything, I would actually know the best.
How much effort are you putting into breakdowns, or were you putting into breakdowns?
It's not about me putting in effort. It's about the team and telling the team to put more effort in. That's what I specialize in. Touche.
But hey, outside of NOLA, who does return in week 5, we had a full slate of matches. Starting off on Friday evening, Friday 7 p.m., between the Miami Sharks and Chicago Hounds. 31-18 victory for the Chicago Hounds. Have a handful of Team of the Week honorees to dish out this week. 2 of them coming from this match. But before we reveal those, Maddie, thoughts on what was a pretty dominant performance here by Chicago. Miami keeping up for a little bit, but then Chicago pulling away there at the end.
Yeah, we got to feel pretty good about this Chicago team. I mean, a couple things. Offensively, they know how to retain possession. They know how to build phases, something that is a recipe for success in this league. And then when you just look at them defensively, they're so effective in the tackle area. If you just watch their game every time that they're making a tackle, just look how effective their double tackles are and how effective and how positive the tackles are. They're bringing a guy back and pushing him backwards and driving their legs almost, a majority of the time that they're making tackles. So when you're Miami and your offense isn't really doing great, it's a tough sledding when you're going against a defense like that.
Yeah, and it happened with a squad for Chicago that I guess you could argue was not necessarily full strength, right? I mean, you had guys, Adrian Carls injured. Tim Sweel, we know, is injured. So fly half position, Christopher Hilsenbeck comes in to start there. And Dylan Fawcett also out of the lineup. And even despite those key omissions from the lineup due to injury, they still come out here and come away with a dominant performance. Couple Team of the Week honorees that we're going to hand out here. The first one is our front row player of the week on Chicago. I hope I say this right. Jackson Zabirek, 12.1 fantasy points for him. Anytime a front row player is getting double-digit fantasy points, always a good thing to see. He comes off the bench, but doesn't let that stop him as he gets 10 tackles, 71 meters gain, and he adds a forced turnover in addition to that. But we got to talk about this guy, not on the Chicago side, but on the Miami side, Manuel Ardeo. I mean, this guy is going to be a monster for the rest of the season. He gets a yellow card and disappoints in that very first week. But since then has posted 2 out of 3 fantasy performances above 18 fantasy points. You mix that in with an 8.6 in round 3. He adds a 19.6 point performance in round 4, 77 minutes played. He scores a try, 57 meters gained, 18 tackles, and forces 2 turnovers. Manuel Ardeo is looking to be one of the premier back row players here this fantasy season.
Yeah, he's pretty ridiculous at the breakdown, and he is absolutely everywhere, just a workhorse. But man, does he ever love to get breakdown penalties?
Yeah. Hey, well, as long as you get two of the forced turnovers, you get 2 of the breakdown steals, you offset that a little bit, you're good to go. So we should be seeing his name quite a lot again. Back row team of the week player from there. Jackson Zabiric, front row player. Manuel Ardeo, back row player, team of the week from this match. A couple other guys to note. Nate Augsburger, good to see him kind of performing back. He now has 2 matches played, in both of them above 14.9 fantasy points, 15.6 in round 4 with 130 meters gained. Doesn't even need to score a try this week. I will give Vandy credit here, and it's someone that we're going to get into a little bit more in the waiver wire segment, but Vandy talked about Mason Flesh and how good that he likes seeing him. 13.1 this week with 12 tackles there, most notably. And again, we'll talk about this guy as well. Thomas Inciarte, 13.6 fantasy points at the scrum half position. He's only center eligible right now, but that might change very, very soon. Any other notes you guys want to add to the Chicago-Miami game?
No, I think you got pretty much all of them, bud.
All right, let's move on to the first matchup on Saturday afternoon. Anthem cannot buy themselves a win, huh? Anthem cannot buy themselves a win. 26-22 loss against Old Glory DC away from home. I'm not trying to take anything away from Old Glory DC, and Maddie, I'm sure that's what you'll get into. All I can say is that there have been multiple chances now in back-to-back weeks where Anthem has had the game in the palm of their hands in terms of being in the lead. They just got to play it out, right? Just work it through to get that very first win in franchise history, and more importantly, in our book it bets, get one step closer to hitting that over 2.5 wins that Vandy and I have going up against each other. But this week was not it. 4 points shy of the victory against Old Glory DC.
Yeah, and you know what? It wasn't like compared to last week. I thought Anthem deserved the win last week. I think Anthem deserved to lose this week because the way that they come out in that second half, and the way that their set piece just broke down, the way that their offense just broke down, they just really couldn't get anything going in that second half. And they had opportunities to win, for sure. And frankly, their set piece just let them down. So, yeah, that's what it is. Some positives for me. Carolina, I mean, they look so much more organized with Lobster at 10. This is exactly what they needed. And for Old Glory DC, I mean, I think they got to be happy to, 1, come away with the win, and 2, have Nick Grigg in the lineup. That guy is an absolute fridge, and he's also got the finesse. I was thinking, Ryan, remember the guy, Ryberg, the whatever, the
quadricep with eyeballs.
Yeah, the quadricep with eyeballs. Nick Grigg is who he was trying to be.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
different, a little bit different appearance, but play style similar. Yeah, you know what? I thought Anthem in this game, honestly, I thought they took advantage of the 2 yellow cards pretty well. But outside of those, I mean, they really didn't have much going. They lost the territory battle. Huge possession time was down a lot. I mean, Nick Green.
I think it's best put. Had a meeting with our very own website guru, Alistair Kirsch-Poole, earlier today. And we chatted about the Old Glory DC game, and he said, as our in-house Old Glory DC fan, at no point in this match was he ever worried that they were going to lose the game, right? Even when they were down. And I think that
first half, maybe. Second half, not at all.
But I think that perfectly sums it up. I guess before we get into the fantasy performances, this begs the question, will Anthem ever win a game this year?
I think they're going to get a squeaker. They will. This was almost their squeaker.
Hey, there are 3 teams that I think that they have to go all in to win. It's their next game against Miami, their next game against Old Glory, and then their next game against NOLA. They got to go all in on those 3 games because
I think it's steal one against NOLA.
Sounds like Ryan's gonna get his book at Pets if they can do those three
Just
win
gotta do those
scorcher.
Simple things. Why don't they watch the show and just do it?
Right. Three win scorcher here. Fantasy point performers. Maddie, I think and we'll get into some other starts of the week, but I think we're on a scorcher when it comes to calling some guys in our starts of the week lineup. For you, it's the scrum half, Ethan McVie. 11 fantasy points in this one. Maddie, you call it pretty solid stuff when it comes to Ethan's performance there. When you're getting, again, kind of similar to the front row position, if you're getting double-digit fantasy points from the scrum half position, you're pretty happy. Junior Goffa, though, is the guy that we got to talk about. We've been waiting for a performance like this from the former Rookie of the Year. It's been quite disappointing 3 weeks in. Hadn't gotten double-digit points all season long. Actually made us make the decision that we weren't going to start him this week. So a nice 21 fantasy points sitting on our bench. Mind you, we did start him for Nick. We started Nick Grigg instead. Was able to scoop him off free agency. Didn't do too bad. But I will say, would have won our fantasy matchup against our very own Stephen Lowen, the community moderator, had we started Junior Goffa. So this one hurts a little bit more. But hey, 83 meters, one try assist, 9 tackles. Is confidence instilled back in Goffa, Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, not even looking at the fantasy points, you just see his involvement in the game. His involvement and his usage rate just went way up. Not sure why.
Is it dictated at all that Eric Storty is not in the lineup?
Yeah, it might be. But I don't think Eric Storty fills that void of what they're doing at the set piece. So, I mean, Goffa's being used extensively at set piece. It's either he's running off the forwards or he is running with the forwards. I think he found a way to get himself involved more. And that's always going to help you from the fantasy perspective.
All right. Well, let's now move on then to the game that happened 1 hour later. Vandy,
sorry. I know why they lost, man.
You paid the price?
Because of going.
That's true. The first time Zion going starts in this year.
What did I say?
End up losing the match.
We called this, Vandy. You said he's going to start this week. And I said, well, they're going to lose this week then.
Yeah, well.
It's true. It is true. Pull up the tapes. 37-17 victory for the Houston Sabercats over the Utah Warriors. Vandy, as our in-house Utah fan, you came on this podcast last week. I believe the quote was, "My fantasy team is a wagon. Utah is a wagon." Does that statement
only one can be true
right now?
You know what? Honestly, I'm gonna be serious. I don't think it was that bad of a loss on paper. Well, no, on paper we got some. But if you watch the game, we had a lot of stuff get called back. Like, I mean, okay, Drew Wild comes out, breaks the line, great play. Then he hits the drop kick. That just felt so cheap. That was like, I don't know. That ticked me off on the couch. I don't know why. And gets absolutely smoked. Gets up, gets another try. Great game by Drew Wild. The guy played his heart out. But what ticked me off is right before the half, we just step out of bounds. Boom, we don't get that try. Come down. There's a stupid knock-on penalty. Barely a penalty. They're searching for it. That's what we're calling. Anyways, that one gets pulled back. And then the Joe Mono, when he ran down, offloaded, goes in. Yeah, that was a forward pass by Jordan Trainer. Barely. Showing me the side angle TMO. Oh, wait, we don't get that. They just... What? Yeah, okay, if that was a forward pass, it probably was. This is just bias, but there was a lot of forward passes that game.
Mm-hmm.
At that piece, I don't think it was that bad. I think watching it, our defense sucked. Their defense didn't suck. But I think I honestly, you run it back, we win it.
You know what's the concern for me is that Houston won this game unconventionally. Houston won this game through their backs. And they just broke the line with so much speed. And that's telling of the Utah team. And this is something that we've seen the past few years. Like Utah, historically, offensively, they are great. Defensively, they are doo-doo. Yep. And they got exposed here, unfortunately. But for me, look, I think Utah just needs to start Crowley and Hodgson moving forward.
Yeah, when Joel came on, man, it was a different game. It was a different game, and he looked so good.
Yeah.
So I guess we shall see if those changes are made. Nonetheless, this week in week 4, 37-17 victory for the Houston Sabercats. 3 team of the week honorees that we got to dish out in this one. All Houston Sabercats. No Utah Warriors on our team of the week this week, despite being frequent appearances in the past couple weeks. Nathan Denholt, start of the week from yours truly. I said it. 9.6 fantasy points from the second row position. Gotta love it. Davey Kutzer coming in at the fly half position. He had a week 25.3. And then, Vandy, you mentioned him. Drew Wild. Awesome player. Maddie, you mentioned it in the Discord. Like, just hard to predict on when he's going to be in the lineup. And like when he's going to be that kind of stable force. But when he's he's a great player. 28 fantasy points. Obviously had that incredible drop goal to add to that. That's kind of going to inflate his points. But either way, just awesome performance.
He took a shot too. He should have got points for that.
Yeah.
Leading out on the field, gets up, scores a try. You know what? I can even appreciate that. It's a warrior.
It's a warrior. And he did that with 140 meters, gained 2 tries and 5 tackles. From the Utah side of things, Nick Ben, who we'll talk about a little bit more in just a bit, 13.5 fantasy points for him, looking pretty solid this season, back-to-back weeks with double-digit fantasy points. Jordan Trainer, he was one of our waiver wire pickups, is averaging around 10 fantasy points, is as consistent as it comes when it comes to fantasy point production. Coming off the bench, Joel Hodgson, 10.6. If he starts like Maddie says he should, I think fantasy managers are going to be quite happy if they were either A, waiting on Joel Hodgson to make his appearance, or B, like our very own Vandy here was lucky enough to scoop him up. So
sorry,
either way,
Vandy, Utah will lose every game that Zion Going starts.
Book it, bets it. Book it, bets it.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right. I think he better sub in at like 56 minutes, something like that. And
after with a 30-point lead,
I think Logan Crowley with Joel Hodgson at 10. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we got through the Utah Warriors, which means Vandy waited long enough. He has to go play father duties. Because he's all grown up. But either way, glad that you're able to stick around for at least the Utah Warriors, Vandy. You gave me your picks this week in a nice little envelope. I'll make sure to do due diligence and may even have a shout out for you. It's going to feel even nicer that you're not on the show to say it in front of. So you'll have to listen to it later.
Stole my bet.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. Don't know what you're talking about. All right, well, we'll see you, Vandy.
Later, buddy.
We'll see you next week. There you go. All right, Maddie, let's continue on here with the final 2 matches of week 4, 10 p.m. matches in the evening. I think that can both be encapsulated in one word, messy. Messy. I think were both of these games. We'll start off. Let's save the best for last. So we'll start off with the San Diego Legion and RFC Los Angeles matchup. 36-28 victory for San Diego. It looked like RFC was close to coming away with it, but I mean, the set piece from San Diego was pretty stout, able to take advantage there, and ends up coming away with the 8-point victory.
Yeah, it was like the opposite of the Houston game or how Houston played, where you're thinking about a team that usually plays to their backs and plays with a quick pace of play. And you look at San Diego, their set piece put on a clinic and their forwards put on an absolute clinic here. LARC couldn't do anything. But yeah, San Diego just didn't take care of the ball. I'll give credit to LARC or RCLA. They did a great job at enforcing turnovers. But yeah, it's just, when you're RFCLA and you're down, I don't know how many yellow cards they got, but they definitely got a yellow card. They definitely got a red card. If you're down 2, you're not going to come back in a game against a side like San Diego. So yeah, tough. But San Diego, good teams. They find a way to win.
Yeah. And I mean, my confidence is still there with RFCLA. I know I might not have picked them this week, but I think they've had some tough opponents. I think that it's going to come. It's going to come for RFCLA, and we'll see how it kind of goes. But again, tough match against San Diego, tough match against New England, and then opening. What was it? Yeah, those are the 2 matches, right? And then what match am I missing there with RFCLA? I feel like I have one more in there. That's I
think they played. I don't know. I think they played
Houston.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, you could argue those are three of the top teams in the MLR, right? And they have Seattle to come up this week, which we'll get into. But
the way that we're talking about them, they should be beating those teams, and clearly we've been proven wrong.
Yeah. San Diego is our lone team of the week, honoree in this one. 9 fantasy points from the defensive set piece. I mean, again, to your point, Matty, that just emphasizes the game plan when it comes to the emphasis on the forward pack doing work there. Hugh Roach doing fantastic stuff, and there's Shiloh Klein coming on doing good stuff there. San Diego, Los Angeles, physical. Top performers from this one: Ben Houston, 14.5. We talked about it earlier. We hashtag found Semi Kunatani, came off the bench. I think 20 minutes into the match,
and went right back to the bench.
Yeah, with that yellow card. I expect that we'll start to see more of him, but it looks like that's not affecting Ben Houston, who has been starting at the 8 position. We'll see what that means this week, but 14.5 for him with the 92 meters and 11 tackles. Rory Van Voot, I feel like every time this guy starts, he does pretty solid. And Matt, you said that before, 15.1 for him, 102 meters gained. And then on the San Diego side of things, I mean, Ethan Grayson is electric, and it looks like he's going to be the one taking conversions. It does appear like I don't know if Lincoln still have lingering injury stuff.
McClutchy left early, so that's another concern, right? Like, he left the game pretty early. So I don't know. I think some owners might need to be a little concerned about what's going on with Lincoln McClutchy.
Yeah, 61 minutes played for McClutchy. And then Poitevin. I mean, come on. Poitevin, every time he starts, man, like, again, one of those consistent guys for you. Doesn't necessarily do it from the offensive side of it, but 16 tackles with 2 forced turnovers there for Poitevin on the San Diego side of things. All right, let's get over to the shocker of a matchup that was between the Seattle Seawolves, the New England Free Jacks, Coffee Cup. The shocking part, not necessarily that they moved from a coffee cup trophy to a normal trophy, but talk about a finish to this game. Last minute score try.
Let me tell you something.
What?
Harrison Boyle is never going to play 15 again. He has lost that spot because I have never seen a guy just get flat out burned. I had to rewind to watch that. Be like, how did this happen? And I just watched him just get flat out burned.
Yeah. Malachi Esdale has 1 minute played in the game, but it's the 1 minute, most important minute of his rugby career as he scores the game-winning try to beat the New England Free Jacks. Matt, overall thoughts on this one?
It was just a weird one. Like, New England Free Jacks, yeah, it was messy. Like, New England Free Jacks, for me, a team that's usually very organized, looked so disorganized on both offense and defense. And yeah, they're a team that's usually very stout at the breakdown, was just lacking in some support and sloppy with their support at the breakdown. So it's really odd to see. And with Seattle, again, another one, like, offensively, really sloppy. I don't even know how many phases we probably built in this game. The one, like, to talk about some players, one on a real note, Boucher, to me, he's just not really impressing. I'm not seeing like an outstanding guy. I think they're really missing the likes of Mac Mason. And the other one, Devin Short, has cornrows. It's time to drop him. That was a serious note. It's time to drop him.
Drop Devin Short or drop the cornrows?
Well, if he drops the cornrows, then I keep him on my squad. But if he keeps the cornrows, it's time to drop him. And that was representative in his play on the weekend.
All right. Well, that's quite concerning because I might be talking about him here in the waiver wire segment. And you can tell me why I'm wrong.
Oh, boy.
In just a little bit. Confidence level with the New England Free Jacks. If you had told me at the start of the year that the New England Free Jacks would be 5th in the Eastern Conference and the Chicago Hounds and Miami Sharks, Old Glory DC, and NOLA would all be in front of them, I mean, I would say that you're lying, but that is the case that we find ourselves in heading into week 5.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that one's like the lineup that they put out there was a young and kind of new lineup. So I don't know. I'm not sure why they chose to put that lineup out against Seattle. Are they running into injury issues? Are they just trying to rest guys? Don't know. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what to make this New England Free Jacks. We've seen this before. We've seen this last year where they get off to a slow start, they come back, and then they end up, winning it all. We've seen this all before, so I don't want to come to any conclusions too soon.
Who do you feel more comfortable? Because, again, on the other side, Seattle, they do get the win, but they're sitting fourth in the Western Conference. Who do you feel more confident to kind of pick it back up and turn it around, New England or Seattle?
I think New England for me. New England simply because we've seen it happen in the past.
Yeah.
Seattle, this is like a new. I haven't seen them play this poor in a while. I haven't seen them play this poor in quite a while.
Talk about a lot of missed kicks too on the Seattle side of things.
Well, that's another like Fouché, like in his gameplay, yeah, but like he was kicking so bad he had to beg Iona to kick.
Yeah, and Iona didn't do any better.
Didn't
do any better. Fantasy point performers, no one's on the team of the week this week from this match, but good to see Jason Petros back in fantasy relevant situations. 14.3 here. Now has back-to-back weeks with double-digit fantasy points. You got Simon Peter Toliafoa, who had two tries for him, which was really cool to see. Aina Fudi, 12.4. He had a pretty good match, I will say. Aina Fudi looked pretty solid. And then, just a handful of kind of hovering around that 10-point mark. Cameron Orr, Joe Johnson, Yero Gomez-Vara, Devon Rousseau. Nothing outside of necessarily spectacular when it comes to this match, and that kind of describes the messy play that we did see. So should be interesting, but hey, there you go. I mean, action-packed, whether it was messy, clean, however you want to describe it, was action-packed to say the least this past week 4. But that does mean we turn the page on to a week 5 where we have 3 teams on bye heading into this one, which means you're going to have to look at this waiver wire because you're going to need to catch some streamers here to get you through what is a whole bunch of teams that will not be playing this week, which means a bunch of players that won't be available for you in your lineups.
Waiver wire breakdown.
All right, time for our TFR waiver wire breakdown where we give you those options to stream. It is Houston, San Diego, and Carolina on bye this week. Obviously, 2 of the top teams in the West. Carolina, you might not be missing as much.
Well, it also means hold on. Fantasy managers are missing Carolina. They help make some easy decisions as a fantasy manager.
I guess in the vice versa context, right? Like if there's no necessary players outside of maybe after this week, Junior Goffa, who would be a lock in your lineup.
Connor
you're
Robinson.
Cam Robinson. But yeah, it's kind of like the opposite where who are the guys that are playing Carolina? You don't have that this week. You don't have that.
Yeah.
So streaming options is not as easy, but hey, we got some next level analytics for you in this week's waiver wire breakdown to help you get through a week that does not include the auto start against Carolina. Is there anyone notable, Matt, as of right now that you would drop? That you're talking about. Rickard Hadding is a name that comes up a lot. He made his first appearance, was not that impressive, didn't have the meters gain that you usually see from Rickard Hadding. Fantasy managers who held on to him was waiting for this moment to see him start and to see him non-impressive. Are you waiting another week or are you dropping him?
I think it's really tough. Like the fact that you see him back in the lineup makes you feel like he can pop off at any time. But like you kind of hope that he would have a similar or at least a decent week similar to Vian Conradi. Like Vian Conradi, for me, I see him back. I see him putting up 8.8 fantasy points. I'm happy to see that. Rickard Hadding, I think there's a lot more disappointment there, unfortunately. I'm trying to think of some other guys that you kind of maybe look to drop. I'll let you maybe throw some names out if you have any, but yeah, I can't think of too many. I feel like we've narrowed it down. I don't know who else is being held on to, right?
Trying to think here, trying to pull up some names when it comes to low point producers. Like Jason Dom, like has he been impressive enough for you?
I liked him.
Pretty solid second
I liked
row.
him. I liked him last game. I liked him in the past game. Yeah.
Andrew Coe, which is
I'm
crazy to think. Like back 3, 57% owned. So obviously people have come through. It's hard to say that as a guy who's a friend of the show, but I how much of that is tied into LA's lack of performance right now? Is that someone you think about dropping?
I don't know. That's a tough one. Like, yeah, I mean,
Rodney
maybe
Iona?
no, I don't think you can drop Rodney Iona until you figure
Rodney
out.
Iona after he loses fly half eligibility.
Oh, yes, definitely drop.
Okay.
But he's gonna gain that back at some point. But yeah, definitely drop. I don't know. I can't make between Eddie Fouché and him. Honestly, I would drop Eddie Fouché. Like I don't see him as being much unless you're desperate for a 10.
Vian Conradi.
No, I'm keeping him. I was pretty optimistic after last game. I thought he did 8.8 fantasy points. It's lower than what he would usually get, but like that's a lot better than what you like a guy coming back. Yeah, I still like that. The one thing to know is Vian Conradi, Jed Melvin is back from suspension this upcoming week.
That is true. All right. Just a couple names that I wanted to list out there. All right, let's talk about some waiver wire pickups. Again, Houston, San Diego, Carolina on bye. For me, it's all about finding people, those streamers that they can start this week in place of some of these guys sitting. Let's talk about front row position. The one guy I want to name, if he is available, this is where the analytics comes in. 71% owned, so owned in most of leagues, but he faces RFC LA, who has been giving up the most fantasy points to the front row position this season, and that is Seattle taking on LA. Karan Van Vieren. He started back-to-back weeks at that hooker position for Seattle. 14 fantasy points on the season. It's lining up to be a good match for him. Again, 71% owned, so not as highly there. A later option, a deeper option, you can maybe look at Cameron Orr. Orr,
that's mine. That is my waiver wire spot. I would take, like, I don't know what it is, but he has a way to, like, he somehow finds his way into the try line, across the try line, and he starts every week. I mean, you look at the first week, 7.7 points. You look at just round 4, 11.8 fantasy points with 2 tries. Yeah, I like Cameron. I actually like Cameron Orr better than Karan Van Vieren.
Really? Okay. Yeah, and even if you extrapolate that out to like last season, you're right. Like he has an act of just getting meters gained higher than what normal front rowers get, and also the act to get a try. I mean, 3 games played, 3 tries scored for a guy that plays number 1. Pretty incredible stuff. The name that I'm going to bring up, though, the Utah Warriors, Aki Seuili, 19.2 fantasy points. For me, what makes him an attractive option is his tackling. He hovers around the double-digit tackles every single match. And for a front row player to get that type of consistency is big. 7.8 in round 2, 5.9, 5.5 in round 3 and round 4 respectively. He's had a forced turnover in every single match so far this year.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's the forced turnovers.
It is, but I mean, he's getting in there. And he goes up against a team this week in the Miami Sharks that also is around the topper end of allowing points to the front row position. So an option there. 19.2, not bad for a front rower. So I would give that too. All right, let's talk about the second row position. Maddie, you texted me. I said, hey, you got any waiver wire pickups? And what did you tell me?
I was like, I have no clue. It's thin, and like my first one would have been Johan Momsen, but obviously Houston's going on bye, and we can't give the people, unless you got space for it, unless you got another second row to hold, we can't give the people a Houston waiver wire pickup. So I am going to go with a trustworthy name, Gavin Thornbury, 57% owned. Look, he's nothing.
I mean, he should be 100% owned.
He should be. He's nothing flashy though, but that's why. Like. He has a struggling. He struggles in round 3, but round 2 he gets 5.8 fantasy points with 16 tackles. Round 4 he gets 8 fantasy points with 13 tackles, 11 meters gained, and a forced turnover. So to me, I like the way he plays. I think he's a sure and start. If you're looking for a guy who's going to start week in, week out, I think he's one of them. And he's going to play 80 minutes for sure. So yeah, if you're desperate and you're in need, he could be your play for this upcoming week and the weeks to come.
We're going back to the analytics for my picks. 86% owned. So he's probably not available in your league, but check if James Scott is available of the Chicago Hounds. My kind of Walmart pick, if he's taken, is look at Hamish Bain. 14% owned for him. The reason why I say that is because Old Glory DC is, again, allowing the most points to the second row position. We've taken the numbers. Our very own analytics guru, Nick Johnson, has crunched the numbers, and we're going stat-based when it comes to this bye-mageddon. Hamish Bain has not necessarily performed fantastically this season, only 6.8 fantasy points so far this year. But if you need a second row guy that's possibly going to get you maybe 3 or 4 points, he's a guy that's in there. He's played 80 minutes before. In round 4 it was disappointing, but round 5 had a high of 5.2. When you're making this pickup, you're putting $0 on it, but it's a guy just to fill the shoes and hope that he doesn't get you negative points. The matchup is good for him. He started every week. He should be there for you. So it's not going to be necessarily a wasted waiver wire bid if that's the direction you go. But as you can tell, second row, pretty thin. Let's move to the back row position. One guy I'll mention who is owned in a large portion of leagues is Mason Flesh. He seems to get involved quite a bit when it comes to the Chicago Hounds offense. 31.7 fantasy points on the season. He scores again this past week. I do like the way that he's playing. But Maddie, option for you.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ed Timpson. I've had him. I dropped him. He's 14% owned across all the fantasy leagues. But this guy is just consistency at its finest. Like 9 points in the first week, 10.4 points in the second week. Comes off the bench in round 4, gets 11.4 fantasy points with 2 tries. I think for me, the telling sign was the fact that they went with a 7-2 split. I think that's what it is. 7-2, 6-2 split. 15 plus 23, 6-2. Nope. What's 5 plus 3? That's 8. 6-2 split. 6-2 split.
Nice.
Just to make sure that he was still in the lineup. He's also not as impacted by Semi Kunatani, considering that he has basically started every game that he's played so far at the 7 spot, not at the 8 spot. And Kunatani has historically really played 8. So I like Ed Timpson a lot. I think it'll be interesting to see where he fits in the lineup.
So I had Ben Houston down here as well. Ben Houston is a guy that is only 14% owned, similarly to Ed Timpson. But Ben Houston, again, the risk there, the reason why I have him as kind of my pseudo pick is there is the risk here that Semi Kunatani is going to eat into that. Now, he has 14.5 fantasy points this past week, his best showing of the year. The 3 back row players that have been playing for LA has been Ed Timpson, Tim Anstey, and Ben Houston. Who gets the short end of the stick? Tim Anstey obviously had the card trouble this past week, which then had Semi Kunatani coming in. There is cause for concern here. Is the pick to go with Ed Timpson simply behind the fact that Kunatani is more of a risk to Ben Houston than Timpson?
Yeah, I would say so. I don't know. It's tough. I think he is. I just don't see. Yeah, I think he's more of a risk to that A position than he is to one of the flanker spots. So that's my personal take. And I also think Ed Timpson has been super effective every time he's come down the field, and he deserves a starting spot on this team.
All right, tell me why I'm wrong, because you talked about him earlier. But my waiver wire pickup, again, based on analytics, Seattle taking on LA allowing one of the most fantasy points to the back row position. Why should I not pick up Devin Short and play him this week when he's only 43% owned and has 28.4? Why shouldn't I?
Why shouldn't you? It's because analytics don't take in the fact that he has cornrows, Ryan. He has cornrows. All right. He came on. He gets 20 whatever tackles last week. He looks sweet with his blonde hair. He comes back this weekend for the coffee cup, decides, Starbucks, coffee cup must mean cornrows. Puts cornrows in his hair, gets 4.6 fantasy points with 9 tackles and 9 meters gained. Sorry, Devin Short, but I think I know there's simple math here that's causing the equation, and it is cornrows equals not good in fantasy.
Is that so?
Well, the analytics don't pick it up, Brad.
I'm still going with him, though. He's an option. I know disappointing this past week, but against LA, Maybe he has a bounce back week here. Scrum half position. Let's move on to that. I'll start off here, and it's more of a perspective ad. He's going to get it. He's your cheat code, Maddie. You had him last year. He has center eligibility right now. Back-to-back weeks, though, starting at the scrum half position, only 29% owned.
We looked at this differently, right? We looked at this differently. Just wait till we get to the center spot.
All right. Well, he's center eligible right now. He's going to be scrum half eligible after this coming week. Thomas Inciarte, 29% owned, 26.2 fantasy points on the season.
This is cheating.
No, it's not.
This is cheating.
No, it's not. No,
he's not even a scrum half. How can he be your scrum half?
Because you will be playing him at scrum half. This is not a streamer for this week.
Well, what do you mean he will be playing? He's not scrum half right now.
But if you need a scrum half.
Oh, yeah, when? You can't even play him this week. It's bye-mageddon, and you're telling people to pick up a guy who they can't play at scrum half? What kind of advice is this?
No. If it meant for me, this is how it's best encapsulated. If it meant for me to not play a scrum half this week, to have Thomas Inciarte play scrum half for me next week, if I have one roster spot to use and I need a scrum half for the future, I don't have a scrum half, I would bite the bullet this week to not have a 9 to pick up Inciarte for 9 next week. Does that make sense? Why are you nodding your head like that?
Anyways, my waiver wire pickup is Ethan McVay.
No, I'm not done explaining why Inciarte is so good.
You cheated. We can't do. We're going to talk about him when the actual waiver wire pickup comes. When we talk about the centers.
All right.
Because the centers is what his eligibility is. And I'm not cheating when we go through waiver wire pick because I didn't know we could just put guys anywhere. If I knew that, I would just put anybody in the front row spot and I'd have somebody for second row. No, that's not how it works.
That's me a guy that's going to be front row eligible.
Yeah, okay, it's fair. You know what? Sam Gall is going to be the second row pick of the week.
I think
he just switched, but I think in the future he's going to play 3 weeks in a row at second row. You just wait.
I think the people understand what I'm saying.
Nobody knows what you're saying, Ryan.
Tell me about Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan McVay. I think 3 weeks in a row, I think he's found his way to the starting spot. The other thing that I really like, and if you just watch the way that he plays, he's always running really great support lines, and he finds a way to score tries, which is honestly something that you love to see from a 9. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing him continue to have that starting role. I would say Logan Crowley might be a spot here, but frankly, I don't know who they're starting. I don't know what they have. I don't know what Utah has for Zion going, but they, for whatever reason, decide that they need to put him in the lineup, and to their own detriment, I guess, their funeral.
All right. Fly half position. This is, I think, what's more barren, second row or fly half? I honestly think it's fly half.
Yeah, you are sitting here with some pretty slim pickings.
All right. Who do you got?
I had Hilson Beck, but I put a bunch of question marks after it.
Yeah, that's what I did. I literally had the same thing because it's all dependent. They have Tim Swiel injured, who is going to be the starting fly half. Adrian Carls has been starting at fly half. He was injured too. Who is going to be available for Old Glory DC?
Well, now we're looking at Ryan for Chicago. You mean? But who we're looking at right now is basically Cardi or Dorian Jones. Yeah. And nobody knows which one's going to be starting. And actually, I don't even want either of them. If we're talking about punting a position, I'm gonna punt this one because I don't want him. I don't want to drop anybody.
But do you pick up Hilson Beck if he's available, and he is in 70% of leagues, with the chance that he's your starter against Old Glory DC if Chicago decides to bench Carls and Swiel for one more week in a game that they should be beating Old Glory DC?
If you have Swiel on IR right now, pick up Hilson Beck. That's how I would do it. If you don't, then I would feel less inclined to have to see. But I mean, out of all the waiver wire guys, he's the one that you think is, for sure, I guess with the highest confidence of 50% that he might be starting.
Yeah.
Cardi, Dorian Jones, I have no clue.
The only other one, I believe he's 71% owned, but Joel Hodgson. This is your weekly Joel Hodgson PSA.
Right, you've been cheating this whole waiver wire. You've been picking guys that are 100% owned.
No, I'm just saying there are people who listen to this podcast that will be in one of these leagues that don't have him.
97% owned. Make sure to pick them
Matt,
up.
you have the rundown here, Matty. You see that my main picks are all below 50%. These are just, hey, keep an eye out for some of these guys. Speaking of which, for the center position, if Spencer Jones is available, he's only available in 29% of leagues.
90% of your leagues. Go pick them up.
Pick him up. Utah taking on the Miami Sharks, who've been allowing the most points to the center position. Spencer Jones.
71%.
But my point though is if he's not available,
okay, 71% of the time. Tell us more.
You're gonna go with Kyle Brown, who is 0% owned. Okay.
Yeah.
0% owned Kyle Brown, who is taking on the Miami Sharks, who again have allowed the most points against the center position. It's a complete matchup based play. Kyle Brown has not done anything this season yet. 15.3 fantasy points on the year. But you're hoping that maybe he can do something this year if you do need a center. The only last guy that I'll mention before you talk about the guy that I wanted to talk about 2 waiver wire picks ago is Isaac Tutamaki. All right. Nola takes on the Free Jacks.
Don't do it. Don't fall for this trap. Nobody fall for this trap.
Can I add? Okay, then I guess I know the answer to your, I know the answer to the question I'm going to ask you. But Isaac Tutamaki was obviously highly touted heading into the season. We know what, Matthew, you feel like towards Nola. Would you rather play, and this is the poopiest of poop, like put a million poop emojis on this matchup decision. But would you rather play Isaac Tutamaki, who's taking on New England Free Jacks, who analytically, the New England Free Jacks have been poor against the center position from a fantasy point production standpoint?
I haven't faced Nola yet.
That is true. But would you rather play Kyle Brown or Isaac Tutamaki?
Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, Isaac Tutamaki, great. Like, good.
Okay.
I would play him over that, but like...
But that's the option that managers are going to have this week. What other options do you have?
I got options, Ryan. I'll tell you options.
Tell me.
Well, first of all, before we get into it, just a PSA. Any Tuola owners, hold on to him. He's going to probably go on IR at some point. Hopefully they release something on that. But yeah, for my center one, this is the one that people actually need to pick up. Thomas Inciarte.
No, I said it back at the other
29% owned. Eligible position at the center position. All right.
Which he's going to lose this week.
In the last 2 games, it started at 9. And at the 9 position, you expect them to kind of, hey, drop off. You know, he's going to lose fantasy points. But no, he's been getting double-digit points at this 9 spot, 10.4 points in round 3, 13.6 points in round 4 with double-digit tackles and a breakdown or a forced turnover in both of them. Ryan, I mean, I don't think you brought this up yet, but for me, I would definitely put some money down on this guy, even if you don't even intend to start him, because he is going to have the possibility of being 9 eligible in round 6 and be playing back at the center position. It's a slim chance, but the fact that he has been playing here, I don't know what's happening with Kubeli, but yeah, I mean, I had Inciarte for last year, being able to start him at the 9 position, starting at center. It was amazing. I did that with Nate Augsburger the year before. This is something and an opportunity that you need to pick up on, and it'll win you weeks.
You realize this is a potato situation. Like, we're saying the same thing in different ways, and we just slot them in 2 different spots.
Okay, but I can't tell somebody to pick up a waiver wire for a 9 that they can't even play at 9 this week.
But you will have him at 9
in 2 weeks' time. So put him on your next week's waiver wire, Ryan. I promise you, he will go up.
He's not going to be available next week.
He will go up to 47%.
I guess is that an indication of how many people listen to this waiver wire segment, or an
actually,
indication?
Do you know what? That's not true, because I've actually seen guys skyrocket to like 80-something%.
Yeah.
Right after we've said them, and then they do poop, and so I'm wondering. I'm wondering what's going to happen as the season goes on. But in Inciarte, yes, you have to take advantage of these little tactics and little opportunities that you can have with players like Inciarte who play across multiple positions in the backline.
Inciarte or Tutamaki?
Inciarte.
Okay.
Like, I'm talking about putting Fab down on Inciarte.
How much?
Like, at least under 10, but over 5.
Mr. put 40% on Joe Mono last week.
I couldn't tell anybody.
Oh goodness. All right.
Tell me that
Lastly,
wasn't worth it.
no, it was worth it. I get it. I would have put it. I did have it in mind that I was going to put a lot on Joe Mano too. But
Who did I
didn't have
beat for the next guy?
I don't know. All right, let's talk about back three. Speaking of Joe Mano, back three options. We're going back to the analytics once again, but this one is actually one that are both 50% under. The one that I'm telling everyone to pick up is Nick Ben.
49%.
29% owned, Nick Ben.
Okay.
I believe, Maddie, he was one of your starts of the week or weekly challenge players not too long ago.
Yep.
Takes on the Seattle takes on the Miami Sharks, who have been allowing a lot of points to the back three position. Nick Ben has looked great despite of that. So on top of a plus matchup, you're getting a very solid player that may be good for you season long. So Nick Ben, I think that back three of Utah is one to have. You know they want to play through that. I think Nick Ben is an option, and I would honestly put maybe 5% on Nick Ben here moving forward.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I have Nick Ben here too. I think him and Rufus McLean are the long-term plays. Like these are guys that you're gonna potentially hold for the rest of the season. I think Rufus McLean has looked very good for a Houston team where you just don't really expect them to utilize the back three. But hey, the past 2 weeks, 13.2 points, 11.3 points with tons of meters gained. So I like him, but the short play option, Rye, for me is Rory Van Voot. I mean, he's still 43%, and I think that's a lot of fantasy owners saying, why would I pick him up when I know Reese McDonald's coming around the corner? And it is coming up to the middle of March, the end of March. He's going to be coming in a couple weeks. But Rory Van Voot is absolute class. Every time he plays, he somehow gets over 15 fantasy points. He either racks up over 100 meters gained or he racks up tries. So to me, Rory Van Voot is the streaming option for this week and the next few weeks until our CLA is back on bye.
Yeah, especially if you're the Reese McDonald owner, I would definitely pick up Rory Van Voot.
And I would put money on, like, people are going to be needy for back three, and Rory Van Voot's, like, I would put some fab on him, even though he's a short-term play.
All right, so fab guys that you got, Matt, you'd put 10 to 20% on Inciarte is what you said.
I did not say that. I said 5 to 10 as my center waiver wire pickup.
Nick Ben, 5% I got. Rory Van Voot, how much?
Yeah, like I'll put 5 to 10%.
Okay. I guess your Rufus McLean point, I guess we'll finish off the waiver wire segment with this. Your top pickup from a team that's on bye this week, if you have the space and you don't need a streamer, and you wanting to look at some of these guys, who's the top guy that you want to pick up here to hold through the bye week?
Oof. Yeah, that's a tough one.
And who's worth it, I should say.
Oh, yeah, that is tough.
Like, is Rufus McLean worth the hold?
I think he looks really good. Like, I think if you're needy for a guy who's just, you want to put up double-digit points. I don't think he's a guy that's going to have a super high ceiling. So maybe in that case, he's not worth the hold. I think guys are expecting us to talk about Drew Wild. I think he's too inconsistent. You never know when he's going to be in the lineup. You talk about a lineup. He's competing technically with Davey Kutzer in that back three. It's just a tough one to make. For me, I'm going to go on a bit of a crazy one. Connor Robinson. With the Anthem picking up, like, their set piece getting continuously better and better. They're not getting pushed around. They're actually being able to be effective. Connor Robinson, back-to-back games with tries. I mean, 10-plus points in back-to-back games for a front rower on Anthem. That's a pretty good deal, and I think he's going to be a long-term hold at that front row position.
Mine is Nathan Denhout. I had him as my waiver wire pickup last week. Had him as my start of the week.
Him or Mumson, man. Like, both of them have looked good.
Second row is sparse right now. And if you have the space and you need a second row guy, especially with some of these eligibilities changing, like if you're a Sam Gala owner, if you're a Frank Lahore owner, and you need a second row guy and you can kind of bite the bullet this week, those are two options that might look okay for you. All right. Lastly, Matt, defense set piece. I'm going, there's no Carolina to bet against. Who cares? All right. Well, I got an option. Old Glory DC. Chicago actually has been allowing a lot of points to the defensive set piece position. Old Glory DC has actually a pretty solid front pack, and all you need for them is to kind of, hammer one home. Bring one home. Only has 2 fantasy points on the season, but hey, they're only 27% owned, so go for that. I ain't going to give you a Seattle Seawolves that's 100% owned or something like that. So there we go.
Okay, analytics said to pick them up.
Yeah. Either way. All right, let's look ahead here to the upcoming Week 5.
Rucking Rundown.
All right, let's break down these Week 5 matches in our Rucking Rundown as we see Houston, Carolina, San Diego again on bye.
Oh,
Maddie,
we got a weird one this week, Rob.
We do. In what sense?
Well, we got games up until Tuesday.
Do we
Is that
really?
not true? Is that not true? Is our site wrong? Do we need to fix that AKP?
Yes. No games on Tuesday. No games on Tuesday. We almost got there.
Why am I being fooled? I'm looking at our website.
Well, don't be Bash. You say that you're looking at the MLR's website.
I'm looking at the MLR's website. We'll get
yes,
that fixed. Don't you worry.
Yeah, that is not correct. Actually, yes, no, that we need to change all of those.
I was gonna say.
According to the MLR site, all of them.
You mean according to our site? According to our site.
According to our site, all of them are on Saturday. That's right. We start off, or I should say, I thought you were going to say the weird thing about this is our records for picking the winners of each game.
That's fine.
Vandy is winning still. He's 12-7 in his picks. I'm second with 9-10. Maddie, you're 7-12. Might be winning in the weekly challenge, losing at the weekly picks challenge. I don't know how much you care about that, but we'll see if we can get back in the win column here without Vandy here to be yelling in our face about how good Utah is and why he's picking Utah this week. But let's start off with the first match on Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Chicago taking on Old Glory DC at home. I do like this matchup for Chicago. I think they're going to look good again. Keep an eye out for who starts for Chicago here when it comes to their injuries. Is Fawcett going to return? Is Sweel back? Is Carl's back? Or are we going to get another Hilson bet game? What do we see here? But either way, I do like Chicago. I am picking Chicago, and they come away with the victory.
Ooh, yeah. I'm going to go Old Glory.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did they let you down last? Oh, no, they didn't let you down.
They didn't let me down, but I think as I have a losing record, I have to choose different from you guys to win. So this is what's happening. I got to pick Old Glory.
You got to pick your spots, though. Don't be silly about it. But hey, this could be one.
You never know. We've been seeing some crazy stuff all year.
It is true. All right. And Vandy goes Chicago in this one. So me and Vandy Chicago, Maddie, Old Glory DC. Any particular players that you find attractive in this matchup?
Yeah, Nick Grigg for sure. I think he's gonna be a guy to watch. But yeah, I'm not too sure. I think maybe Damian Hoyland as well. But it's no other guys other than that. I mean, Ollie Devoto is kind of a classic. You always have to watch here. But Ryan, you brought up another guy, Mason Flesh. I think Mason Flesh, he's just going to be a workhorse in this game. Probably rack up a bunch of tackles and just get some meters gained.
All right, let's move on to the second match of Saturday, 2:00 Eastern time. New England Free Jacks taking on the NOLA Gold at
Free Jacks.
home. I had a feeling you'd go that. I am going Free Jacks as well. Vandy goes NOLA.
This guy's dumb. Does not listen to anything that I say.
No, he listened to Jack. He listened to Jack McRogers about that.
Oh.
Is this a game on how you would treat a team playing Anthem Rugby Carolina? Like, is this auto start any New England guys?
No, I think the main ones for me are the back row and the second rows, simply just because the breakdown work, right? Like, we're looking at NOLA. I think I talked about this last week or a couple weeks ago, where NOLA is now the team to where if you're looking for forced turnovers, you're going to find them at the breakdown and you're going to find them across this team. And I'm going to say, like, if you got to be in karate, if Jed Melvin's back this game, those guys are 100% start. If Sam Carrott's back from injury, 100% start. Even guys you maybe wouldn't historically start from that second row position or that back row position is a guy you might want to pick up and stream for the week. Until Nola proves me wrong, they cannot protect their own ball at the breakdown for the life of them.
You have to pick one player on the Nola Gold that's going to have the best fantasy performance. Who is it going to be?
Jed Melvin.
No.
I said no. Nola Gold.
Do you want to retry that?
Yeah, ask me one more time.
All right. If you had to pick one player, if you say Jed Melvin again, if you have to pick one player from the Nola Gold that is going to have a top performance, who is it going to be?
Jonamo.
Jonamo. Okay.
Yeah, but something to watch with Nola, though, is seriously is like the 9 and 10 combo. I'm not exactly sure where they go from there. Like, I'm not exactly sure. I have this feeling they're going to keep playing Ruben DeHaas and Lucardi because now they're at the point that they just got to develop U.S. guys because they stink.
All right.
Yeah, they're not that bad, but
we'll see. All right, 6 p.m. Eastern time Saturday, Miami Sharks taking on Utah at home. Dandy, of course, is picking Utah. I am picking Utah.
I am also picking Utah.
Is this a situation where it's auto start your Utah guys? Bounce back game against Miami?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we're at that point. I mean, look, Miami was still competitive against Chicago. Like, it wasn't like it was a blowout. It was one of the larger blowouts of this weekend, but it wasn't a blowout. Miami's still a good side. I think they just are sloppy and ill-disciplined. Like, I would say that for Utah, like Liam Coltman's almost like a must-start. Utah set piece, I have this feeling that they're just going to do really well. Like, you look at the way that, what's his name, Jackson Zarabic did, a lot of that is just off the back of Miami taking breakdown penalties and putting Chicago in really good positions. In my opinion, I think we should look at the same for Utah. You look at the front row, you look at the set piece. I think some good starts there.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm back three. Utah's back three. I'm auto starting any one of them. Nick Ben, Joe Mono, Jordan Trainer. Throw them in there.
And Miami will kick you the ball, and Utah will run it back.
That's a great point. All right. Utah across the board for us. More confidence in a team here. Rest away. Miami Sharks or this team that we'll talk about next year in their matchup against Seattle, RFC LA. Who do you have more confidence in to finish with a better record?
RFC LA.
Okay. See,
I mean,
I can turn it around.
Just better players, I think, in my opinion.
All right, so RFC LA does that start this week as they take on the Seattle Seawolves. Last matchup was Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern time. What's going to happen here?
Oof, this one's a tough one for me. I mean,
Seattle hasn't sold me. Seattle has not sold me.
No. And I don't know, like, again, like some of the crucial areas is at that 10 position. And they just haven't had consistency in performance there. And also, so that for that reason, I'm going to go RFC LA.
Yeah, I'm going to go LA here too. Vandy goes LA as well. I think this is a great game for them to come with the comeback. Again, I'm not very high on, you touched on it earlier, Matt, the Fuche Iona situation there. Will we see the return of Dan Creel? He's been injured. They haven't said it. But Devon Rousseau has been playing at the center position. Do you start Devon Rousseau this week?
Yeah. If he's at 1,500%. If he's center.
Devon Rousseau or Inciarte?
Devon Rousseau.
Okay. Just go checking. He checked. Just making sure. All right, LA across the board, and we'll see there. Roy Van Voot, I think, is a big start if he starts in this one. All right, well, those are your picks for Week 5. Got one more segment to wrap up the show, and let me tell you, it was a week of big money for Vandy and myself.
Copycat.
TFR Betting Challenge.
It is the TFR Betting Challenge brought to you by Betstamp. Betstamp betting made easy. Betstamp and the Fantasy Ruckers have teamed up to give you some good first-time user deals at sportsbooks available in your area. Check out the link down below to see those sportsbooks and to hop on some new user deals and hop on some of these rugby bets, including Major League Rugby. I've seen some pretty cool lines. I know that the futures bets have come out on some sports books, so you can use the Betstamp link to see if you have those futures available to you. Very good value on Utah. Came in the week at plus 2,800 to win the Shield. Has since moved to plus 2,000. So you bet $10, make 200. That has since moved to 2,000, like I said, because lots of money going in on Utah. So if you're high on them, that's a
Nice
pretty,
way to throw
pretty
away
good
$10.
pick. I will say, though, Vandy and I got to win, baby, and he's not here to tell me otherwise. I think Vandy might have won one, but it's my first betting win of the year. The Discord chat was popping off, making me feel good that I finally got my first win. Nice little parlay between the Chicago Hounds winning with the money line, the 17.5 spread for Carolina, and then the 15.5 spread for RFCLA all hit. I obviously did not copy Vandy there. I thought it was a pretty good pick, but Vandy is winning though the TFR betting challenge right now. He's $24 in the plus. We don't need to talk about mine. That can remain to be seen. We don't have our fun game to play, Matt, of what is the Anthem Rugby Carolina line going to be, because they are not playing this week. So we're going to hop right into some other rugby matches that are happening this week. Is there any, before we get into it, because obviously the MLR lines are not out at the time of this recording this podcast, are there any games that kind of interest you and what you should keep your eye on?
Yeah,
I want to see what the line comes out for the Utah Miami Sharks game.
Yeah, I'll tell everybody the lines. Chicago favored 12.5 points.
12.5. You're crazy.
Yeah, Chicago's our favorite. If it's that much, just hammer Old Glory DC. Free Jacks favored 7.5 points. Free Jacks will cover that. Utah favored 14.5 points against Miami, and Seattle. I think Seattle is going to be favored against RFCLA by 6.5 points.
If Seattle's favored, I think I might take the money line on RFCLA. Honestly,
yeah, I definitely would.
I definitely would. All right, let's talk about, we got some fun rugby happening this weekend. We got obviously Super Rugby and Six Nations. Six Nations, quite exciting this past week, man. Did you watch the France-Ireland game? Pretty shocking there. Too bad for man
saw
down.
People taking out Nice.
Yeah. Rest in peace to
Antoine Dupont.
Antoine Dupont's knee.
Yeah, France looks sick though, but yeah, let's go through some of the lines, right?
All right. Matches this weekend for Six Nations. We open up with Ireland at Italy on Saturday at 10:15 a.m. Eastern. What is the line, Maddie?
Yeah, Ireland's favored by 13.5.
Ireland is favored by 20.5. You're losing your spunk.
I am.
I stay away from that.
I am. Yeah, I would. Well,
20.5's a lot.
Yeah, but they just lost to France, and they're going to be coming out humming. But yeah, I would also stay away from that. If that's 20.5, then I don't know what this one is.
England at Wales. I think you might like this one, though. 12:45 Eastern time. What is this line?
This line has to be more than 20.5. No, 17.5.
11.5.
No way. Not a chance. Hammer England. It's no way. How is that going to be 11.5? Have they not watched Wales play?
I don't know. Is that your pick of the week?
Yeah, well, they did get the bonus point against Scotland. So defensive bonus point against Scotland. So
all right. Speaking of Scotland, Scotland at France to round out the Six Nations week, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Line.
What was the Wales England one? 11.5.
11.5.
Yeah. So this was what, 7.5.
17.5.
What is going on? That's not me. This isn't on me. These lines are messed up. I don't understand. I would take Scotland.
You think France looks good, man? France looks really good.
Yeah, but I would take Scotland. I think Scotland can be within 17.5 points. I think they can do it.
All right, let's quickly run through Super Rugby. Pacific, Highlanders, Hurricanes, Maddie.
Don't want to talk about Hurricanes. They just lost them on a Pacifica. Yeah, don't want to talk about it.
Not even the line.
I don't even want to talk about the line.
All right, plus 2.5. Hurricanes are underdogs. Brumbies, Fiji, and Drua.
Ooh, Drew is the underdogs?
Drua is the underdog.
Yeah, by what? Like 7.5?
12.5.
Oh, Drew, take that.
All right, Crusaders, Western Force.
Force are the underdogs
Mm-hmm.
by 13.5.
20.5.
Yeah, okay, stay away from that one.
All right, Chiefs, Blues.
Yeah, Chiefs are not the underdogs. Chiefs are favored by what? 6.5?
7.5. Pretty good.
Yeah,
I don't know if I
yeah.
like that one either. Queensland Reds, Waratahs.
Yeah, well, Waratah's got to be favored by what? They got to be favored by 8.5.
Waratahs, underdogs.
Well,
5.5.
okay. To be fair, Reds are pretty decent. Hey, if you hit that Crusaders favorite against the Reds last week, would have got you.
Would have got you. It sounds like your favorite pick, though, of the week is England at 11.5 over Wales.
Yeah, and then the Drew over covering against the Brumbies.
Okay. All right. Picks of the week in your TFR Betting Challenge brought to you by Betstamp. We'll see what picks we will have for our MLR games. Those will come out on Friday. If LA comes out as underdogs, I think I'm hitting that money line for that one.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey, on behalf, again, check out that link down below. We partner with Betstamp to get you some new user deals at sportsbooks available in your area. Betstamp, betting made easy. On behalf of Vandy, big time win this week for him. I will say that once again, big time wins for us on the TFR Betting Challenge. And we'll see if the TFR boys in our main OG league can get back in the win column after another interesting week, and one that will include 3 teams on bye and another bye-mageddon, the second one in just 5 weeks. Maddie, do you have anything else to say to the people?
I got nothing. Just good luck on bye-mageddon. Godspeed.
Godspeed. All right. For Matt Yee, for Devin Vandy Vanderpool, I am Ryan Yee, and we'll see you next week on another episode of the Fantasy Ruckers Show.
He copy-pasted that bet.
You've been listening to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, bringing fantasy rugby to the masses, covering everything rugby from the MLR and beyond. We hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review, and be sure to tell all your friends. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, connect with us on social media at the Fantasy Ruckers. Till next time, this is the Fantasy Ruckers Show, signing off.